Hello all and welcome to VARC 100, a free practice course for CAT verbal preparation. This is RC number 21. As usual, the link was shared over our Telegram group. It was also sent to your registered email IDs. You may sign up for the course on our portal. The link is given in the description of this video. Let's begin. So this was an interesting read. A quick synopsis of the passage first. In the first paragraph, author tells you that a new theory challenges the traditional view that old European societies were patriarchal, which means according to a new theory, the old European societies were not patriarchal. Okay. In the second paragraph, author tells you that it was only after 3000 BC that patriarchy emerged through war gods. In the third paragraph, author tells you that the idea of great goddess has been touted by feminists. Feminists like the idea of great goddess, and they endorse this idea as a more positive model for human nature relationship, which means feminists believe that if we view nature as feminine, as a great goddess, then we will be able to have a more positive relation with nature. We can have a more harmonious relation with nature if we view it as a mother, as a goddess. Okay. In the next paragraph, author tells us about some researchers which reject this theory of great goddess and who argue that some researchers who reject this theory and who argue that archaeological evidence is insufficient to give us an insight into people's mind. So how the old people, the primitive Europeans thought, archaeological evidence can never tell us that. But in the next paragraph, author talks about the supporters of this theory who propose that some amount of guess, speculation is necessary for the progress of archaeology. So it is okay, even if there is some amount of guesswork involved in this theory. Now, please note, author merely tells us about researchers' beliefs. He tells us about supporters' beliefs. He tells us about what this new theory proposes, but he never comments personally on the new theory. He tells us about other people's viewpoint about this new theory, but he does not tell us about his personal viewpoint on this theory. So the passage is objective in nature. Okay. To the questions now. Which of the following most closely resembles the new theory's view of the European society prior to 3000 BC, before 3000 BC? So according to the new theory, before 3000 BC, the European society was not patriarchal. So there was no patriarchy. And it was also mentioned that it was a matriarchal community in which men and women lived together as equals. They respected nature. They worshipped the great goddess, a nurturing deity. And it was also mentioned that they were a peaceful community and a harmonious community, harmonious society. Okay. So it was not patriarchal, it was matriarchal. Men and women lived together as equals. They worshipped nature and they lived peacefully. These are the features of the European society, primitive European society, before 3000 BC. Option A, they were a nomadic community of hunter-gatherer builders. Now wait, a tempting choice for some of you. It was also mentioned that prior to 3000 BC, the Europeans lived in stable agricultural societies. If they lived in stable agricultural societies, they were not a nomadic community. So this is factually incorrect, contradictory to what the passage says. It contradicts information in the passage. Stable agricultural societies means settled agricultural societies. And option A says they were a nomadic community. So they did not wander from place to place. Rather, they were a stable agricultural society. So option A is out. They were a female-dominated society. Again, factually twisted. It was mentioned that men and women lived together as equals. So yes, it was a matriarchal society, matriarchal community, which means mother was respected, female figures were respected. But that does not mean it was a female-dominated society. Because the next sentence tells us men and women lived as equals. So it was not a female-dominated society. Also, was labor Men's main role, we don't know. It was one of the roles, but was it the main role? We don't know. Option C, they were a warring community where groups were divided into two. One worshipping male war gods, other worshipping female gods. Alien idea. Nowhere it is mentioned that they were a warring community. In fact, this is contradictory. They were a peaceful community. Option D, a pacific community. Pacific means peaceful, non-violent. Yes, they were a harmonious society. They were a peaceful society. Of nature worshippers, written here, they worshipped nature, they respected nature. With well classified roles for both sexes. Yes, it is also mentioned. Women headed clans and men labored as hunters and builders. So they were well classified. There were well classified roles for both sexes. Option D should be the correct answer. Nice question. Very, very interesting question. Based on the information in the passage, which of the following statements about prehistoric European society would traditional archaeologists most likely consider illegitimate? Okay. The question has multiple twists. First, you'll have to understand what traditional archaeologists believe and what they consider illegitimate, invalid, unreasonable. Okay. Penultimate paragraph, second last paragraph, it was mentioned that traditional archaeologists taking issue with unorthodox speculation on ancient belief systems contend, they argue that archaeological evidence may tell us about what people ate, how they built homes, what they traded, but it cannot tell us, archaeological evidence cannot tell us how they thought. To them, such speculation is illegitimate. So what is illegitimate according to them? Guesswork, guessing how ancient people thought is illegitimate to them. Okay. Option A, the people were agrarian and not nomadic. This assertion will not be legitimate. It is not their thought process. So basically, we'll have to understand, traditional archaeologists believe that archaeology can only tell you about people's behavior. It cannot tell you about people's thought process, ancient people's thought process. Option A is about behavior. They were agrarian in nature and not nomadic. They did not wander from place to place. It is not about ancient people's thought. So option A, these people, these archaeologists will find legitimate assertion. Option B, food was cooked in clay vessels. This is also a part of behavior and not their thought process. So this is also good. They will not find this illegitimate. The people were worried about invasion. Now, please understand, whether or not they were worried about invasion is their thought. And traditional archaeologists believe that you can never tell about their thoughts. Archaeology cannot give you an insight into people's minds. It can only tell you about people's behavior. So option C, they will find illegitimate. Option D, they had adopted a more patriarchal model. So this is also their behavior. So A, B, D are behaviors. C is a thought process. And traditional archaeologists will find option C, therefore, illegitimate assertion. Because they believe that archaeology can never tell you about their thought process, ancient people's thought process. Okay. Nice question, this one. It required some amount of thought, some amount of reasoning, critical thinking. Which of the following maxims? Maxim is an adage, a proverb, a saying, basically, kahawat. Which of the following maxims seems most in agreement with the argument that the supporters of the great goddess theory put forth in response to criticism? Supporters are being talked about in the last paragraph. And what is their argument? Their argument is that the researchers who reject the theory reveal a certain narrow-mindedness. So basically, researchers who reject the theory are narrow-minded, supporters say. Okay. So it is not a weakness on part of the theory itself. It is their narrow-minded scientists or researchers' narrow-mindedness. That's why they reject the theory. That's what supporters say. So which saying will be in most agreement with their belief? The answer was easy. Option B, a mind is like a parachute in that it only works when open. So you should be open-minded, basically. It coheres beautifully with the supporters' thought process. Okay. Option 4, question 4. Which of the following would be contrary to what a proponent of the theory of great goddess most likely believes? Now, the question has multiple twists again. First, you will have to identify what proponents believe. And then we have to find out the answer choice which is contrary to that belief. Okay, so what do the proponents believe? Proponents are supporters. So the supporters of great goddess. Okay. Here, the proponents of the theory are being talked about in the second paragraph, and they believe that the peaceful and harmonious matriarchal society prior to 3000 BC was shattered about the year 3000 BC when invaders from Indo-European steppes replaced social and sexual egalitarianism by patriarchy and hierarchy, and the warrior gods dethroned the great goddess. With the widespread decimation of old Europe, the goddess-centered religion went underground. Okay, it went underground. However, its symbols have reappeared over the centuries in the forms of female deities such as Virgin Mary, and in the belief in spiritual forces lurking within the natural world. Okay, so basically, what do these proponents believe? They believe that the matriarchal society or the idea of great goddess went underground in 3000 BC, around 3000 BC, with the invasion from Indo-Europeans. And now it has reemerged. Over centuries, it has reemerged. Let's see, therefore. We have to find, okay. So let me write down what they believe first. They believe that the idea of great goddess went underground, and it has reemerged. And it has reemerged over centuries. Okay. It has reemerged. Okay. Now we are supposed to find out an answer choice which is contrary to this idea, opposite of this idea. Okay. Option A. The available archaeological evidence does not rule out the idea that old European matriarchal communities existed. Basically, in short, option A says that matriarchy was there. Matriarchy was there. Is this idea opposite to proponents' belief? No, proponents themselves believe that there was a matriarchal society. The supporters of this theory believe that there was this idea of great goddess. There were matriarchal societies. So this is in support. This is in support. This is in agreement. This is consistent with proponents' belief rather than contrary to it. Option B, the field of archaeology has been dominated in the past by male-oriented scholarship. Wait. European societies in the past were male-dominated. The question of discussion, the subject of discussion is whether European societies of the past were male-dominated or not. The field of archaeology, whether or not was male-dominated, is not the question. It's not about the field of archaeology. It's about European society. Archaeology is only trying to find out whether European societies were male-dominated or not. So this is factually twisted. Option C, matriarchy is conducive to establishing a healthy relationship with the natural world. This is also something which is consistent with proponents' belief. Proponents believe that the idea of great goddess helps us live a harmonious life, and it is conducive to establishing a healthy relationship with the nature. So this proponent's idea is consistent with this option C. It is not contrary to it. Option D, the decimation of old European society wiped away all traces of the great goddess religion. Now, please note, proponents believe that the great goddess religion only went underground and it has re-emerged now. Option D cannot be true, therefore, because option D says the great goddess religion, all the traces of this religion were wiped away. If all the traces were wiped away, how can it re-emerge? So option D is contrary to proponents' belief. Correct answer, option D. I hope you enjoyed doing these questions. The questions were challenging. The passage was easy to understand. The questions were tricky. I would not say they were difficult, but they were tricky. If you were focused enough or attentive enough, you would be able to mark correct answers. Hope you enjoyed this exercise. Please do not forget to like the video. We are putting in a lot of effort for you. Spread the word about TVM Academy. Spread the word about VRC 100 series. Tell your friends about it. Let's make everyone's time worth the while. Keep learning, keep improving, keep practicing. Cheers to learning. Bye-bye, guys.